hands of Muthuvel Karnanidhi Stalin, the statesman par excellence. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kanemoji. Now, and the next speaker is Elamaram Kareem. Is it there? Ah, yes, please.
Thank you, sir. I would like to mention that this is an anti-people budget aiming for all-out privatization. I call this government 3A government. A government of Adani,
Mr. Kareem,
for Adani,
you have only 8
by
minutes
Adani.
because rest of the time has been exhausted of your
What is
party.
that? What is that?
So you have 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
8 minutes? No.
12 minutes.
I have to.
Your
This
other
budget is full
speaker
of high
has,
decibel sound
taken,
bites with no substances.
Your other speaker has taken the rest of the time. So you will have 8 to 9 minutes. You can.
Yes. We can adjust, sir. Yes, we all know that budget is presented in the backdrop of an economic scenario when majority of the people are facing unimaginable miseries in the form of huge loss of livelihood, loss of earnings, deepening poverty, and intensified hunger in the midst of unprecedented price rise of fuels and essential commodities. Sir, unemployment is so bad that there are job riots in Bihar and UP. Wealth and income inequalities are among the worst in the world. Millions have been pushed into poverty because of the pandemic and the lockdown. And inflation is accelerating even in the midst of massive unemployment. No budget in the recent period had been presented at a time when the economy is going through such a challenging situation. In this scenario, what was needed in the budget was a big push towards job creation and increasing domestic demands. But this budget failed miserably in addressing these issues. Union Budget 22-23 has been presented in the overall background of desperate and destructive privatization drive, forgetting the need of the common man. The so-called inclusive growth, financial inclusion mentioned by the finance minister in her speech displays shameless hypocrisy of the union government. Sir, the total budgeted government expenditure for 22-23 is 39.45 lakh crores, which is just 4.6% higher than the revised estimate for 21-22. That means the increase is below the rate of inflation and hence also below the growth rate of real GDP of 8.5 projected by the economic survey. The budget has proposed a growth in total expenditure by around 1.75 lakh crores from the revised estimates of 21-22. But as percentage of GDP, the total expenditure has come down from 17.8% in 2021 to 15.3% in 22-23 budget estimates. This squeeze on expenditure is visible not merely in the central government expenditure. By squeezing the transfer of resources to states, the state governments are also being forced to do the same. These transfers are to come down from 6.91% of GDP in revised estimate of 21-22 to 6.25% in 22-23. The growth of revenue receipts has primarily grown as corporates were able to accumulate profits during the pandemic, reflected through increased corporation tax realization and also garnered through GST hike and petroleum price from indirect taxes levied upon the common people. The revenue expenditure budgeted in 22-23 of Rs 3.19 lakh crores supposed to include the welfare schemes named after Prime Minister marks an increase by less than 1%. Despite a huge increase in GST collection as claimed by Finance Minister in her budget speech, the allocation of MNREGA is reduced to Rs 73,000 crores from 98,000 crores the previous year. In the face of increased intensity of widespread hunger, food subsidy is also reduced. National food security has been slashed down by 30%. Fertilizer subsidy has been also drastically cut by 25%. Petroleum subsidy by 11%. In the face of the skyrocketing fuel price. Even the allocation for midday meal scheme, that is for the poor students, now renamed as PM Portion, faced a drastic cut by 1,267 crores. Sir, budget did not bother about the miseries being faced by the working people during the pandemic in the form of loss of livelihood and earnings, and also widespread informalization of employment. Despite demands for relief and expansion of social security for all, the budget remained absolutely in a denial mode for the working people who actually create wealth for the nation. The budget does nothing to stimulate demand for affecting the economic revival and also for providing relief to the working people. The outlay for a whole range of programs that provide relief to the poor have actually been slashed compared to last year. Sir, what was required was introducing an urban employment guarantee scheme. On the contrary, it has cut down expenditure of MNREG. Sir, MNREG is a demand-driven program. Funds will be made available if the demand crisis for such funds, that is the claim of the government. But if the wages are delayed, the enrollment in the employment may get reduced. So, these lifeline projects introduced by the UPA government, now you are killing that project through these budgets. Sir, the privatization, the budget is presented in the overall background of desperate and destructive privatization drive, embracing the infrastructure, manufacturing, and mineral sector, facilitating transfer of our resources from national exchequer to private hands. So, the corporates could double their wealth during this pandemic, COVID pandemic. The finance minister at the very beginning of her budget speech itself was praising the government for its successful sale of the national carrier Air India and Neelachal Ispat to the Tatas. The budget has reiterated government's commitment of further transfer of state-owned capital assets to private sector, both domestic and foreign. In fact, under this regime, economic policy making is gradually moving towards purely anti-people destructive trend, much to the detriment of the national interest. Sir, on farmers, what was the promise in the budget of 2021? Point 22 in the budget 2021, it said, our government is committed to the goal of doubling the farmers' income by 2022, this year. Sir, a commission was appointed by the then government, Ashok Davle Commission. That commission gave the report, 14-volume report. It is still sleeping in the shelf of the government. Now, in this budget, there is a single word mentioning regarding the doubling the income of the farmers. In contrary, the revenge to the farmers, what you have done, the farmers' reliefs are cut short by drastically. Procurement remunerative price of non-waiver were not even addressed.
We have two more speakers.
Yes, I am concluding, sir. Total allocation was 4,74,750 crores in 21-22, which has now fallen to 3,70,303 crores. That is over a lakh crore reduction. That is a revenge on the farmers who were on the struggle against the controversial farm laws. The share of the rural development in the budget has also fallen from 5.59% to 5.23%. Allocations for all major schemes for farmers have also seen budget cut. The allocation for procurement of FCI and under decentralization procurement sum has been reduced by 28%. Allocation for funds for the fertilizer subsidy has been reduced by 25%. Under PM Kisan, 12.5 crore farmer households are supposed to be provided 6,000 rupees each. which requires an allocation of 75,000 crores, but only 68,000 crores
Thank
are
you,
allocated.
thank you. You conclude.
And finally,
I'm
one
calling the
minute, sir,
next
1 minute,
speaker.
sir.
Please.
In the post-COVID
No, we
period, there is
don't
a
have
need
much
for
time.
provide more assistance to states, including Kerala, but the budget has been inconsiderate and silent on this.
Should have
Even
liked to
budget did
hear
not
you
aid the
more,
taking
but
forward
there is no
development of
time.
Kerala.
I mean, there's
Kerala has
paucity
always
of time.
raised so many demands.
Again, I have to
and
request,
aims, a railway zone and
Mr.
other
Ajit Bhuya,
important projects which were put
Will
to
you
the
speak
government.
today or
It
tomorrow?
is not considered. It is very sorry to
We
say.
have-
So I can't support these budgets. Thank you, sir.